The following audio recording has been designed for learning purposes only. Do not share, distribute, or provide any type of copies, or this audio lesson will not be made available to you. Good luck with today's lesson.
Our game piece.
In the make shape part.
In the make shape. How does make shape work? Come on up. Take a pen. Show us. Come on down. As they say on Jeopardy. Come on down.
Oh,
Flip a letter for us.
Think you know how it works? You
Show
want
us
me to
how
come
it
up
works.
and draw it?
Well, yeah, draw it however you want to do it.
Okay.
Explain to us what the coding scheme there is.
I'll try.
Give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen?
So each of the pieces are individual. Each are just little individual squares that you set up in certain things, so you can make a different combination. Each of the parts in the brackets are each of the individual pieces to be made for stuff. So for example, piece 0 would be the first block in the row, which would be starting at 0 on the column side. And then the next piece would be for here, which would be 1. So that one would be 0. It starts off with the place being row 0, and then column 7, which would be the first one at the top, and then 7 over.
So let's draw that guy up.
Okay.
Take the erasers right there. Do a nice matrix. You can do better than that. No. Let's have a real matrix. What's the coding scheme for that matrix? Somebody want to help him? He's looking for assistance.
I'd draw like a tic-tac-toe thing. That's what I would do.
Jordan, ready? John? Somebody.
So draw like 2 brackets. Draw 2 brackets. Empty.
Peter, you want to help? Come on.
Here, try it. Draw 2 brackets. Bigger. Like longer. Make them longer.
Like over here?
Make them vertically longer.
Make them bigger. So like this. Right?
And then make another one with a lot of space in between.
Okay.
Are we on the right track here?
Are you in there?
Okay, so what is it? So I don't know. Should we make like 7 rows or something?
I don't know.
Of zeros? Or
Do we need 7?
how many rows do we have? How many rows do we need? We only need 4 rows. So make it 4 rows long. 1, 2, 3, 4. You just could write 1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay.
4 going down
Gotcha.
the left side.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. And then make 7 columns. And I think you just write them like by each other. Well, you know, you could write it like the 2, 3, like from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could just write it like going forward or something. Actually, let me look at this. I might not know what I'm talking about completely because I'm just looking at a Google image right now.
I'm so confused.
Can you help us out? We don't know this stuff.
You guys are no fun. Come on, I was just starting to enjoy this. Which one of you guys is the straight guy in the comedy team?
The what?
The comedy team. You know, like Laurel and Hardy, Rowan and Martin.
Or Penn and Teller in a sense.
I don't know that they tell jokes.
I don't know. I'm Luca Brasi though. That's all I know.
So the only thing I can say is that
Let's take another look at this. First of all, I'm sad because of what I just saw. Right. Two very critical points. When did we ever start an array with 1?
Starts with 0.
When did we do that? But, more importantly, we had a couple pieces correct. Right? So. Something like this. Actually, I think we need the 7th one. Right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what are the coordinates, my friends? What are the coordinates that we have? For example, for the first one.
0, 7.
0, 7.
Oh, sorry. We have a 0 and a 7. Okay? Row 0, or is that column 0?
Row 0.
Row 0.
Column 7.
Column 7. Next.
Row 1, column 7.
Row 1, column 7. Next.
Row 1, column 8.
Column 8. Oh, we need one more. Row 1, column 8. What else?
Row 2, column 8. And then that's it.
Okay. So the row and column actually were the row and column. What do we know about pieces? What is pieces?
A list.
It's a list. It's a list. So looking at the next one that's there, right, we have 0, 7, 0, 1, 0, 7, 0, 2, right? So read them to me again. 0, 7, 0, 7,
1,
1, 7.
7, 2.
7, 2,
7, 3. Oh, 7.
7, 3.
Yeah, 7, 2, 7, 3, and then just column 7 by itself.
Well, here's the question. Is there something in those locations? In the last two? Doesn't appear to be, right? But what they're telling you is that those are the ones that it's going to use for this. Okay? So let me ask you this. If I said, I want you to create a new shape, how would you do it? Could you call the make shape?
Yeah.
Map your new shape in, give it a new shape number, right? So if I said, give me a new shape, one would say shape equals 8, and then perhaps some sort of coding thing here that would represent that. Does that sound right? I don't know. 1, 6. 1, 7. 1, 6, 1, 7. 1, 8. And then 2, 8. So where are we getting some of these? What's happened? Right?
2.
Thoughts?
Where are we getting some of what? Some of what? What are we talking about?
Well, the important parts are what is this mapping? Right? it's a pretty nice deal the way they have it set up, right? So shape is equal to shape 6 has these pieces. Shape 7 has these pieces, right? On that matrix.
Yeah.
Okay? Again, we're trying to understand what's happening. Right? So when we come down here, right, we have self pieces that append gain piece image, gain piece image, gain piece image. What is that all about? How does this work? What's this mapping strategy that they have here? How does this work? Right? Literally, this method is called as part of this. How about fill piece, etc.? What is the point here? What are we talking about?
It'll append the game piece image like 4 times, I guess, because there's only.
Is that
That's the most.
that's not setting up the color, is it, for each piece?
I don't know. Might be. Take a look at that code.
No.
Right? We're trying to understand translation.
Yeah. It calls hold on. So game piece. Yeah, I don't know where the image comes from or where the image gets set, but it calls the game piece the sprite class, right? And then it creates a sprite for each of those values. So there's up to 4 values in every shape that are given.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they do it 4 times, and then it makes a sprite for each one of them.
Ultimately, it creates an image. Right? But it's making it out of what? It's making it out of
Individual blocks.
the individual blocks. Shape 1, image, shape 2, shape 3, shape 4, shape 5, 6, and 7. Right? It's using those diamonds. Each one of those replaces one of the X's here. Pick the color and it does that. Where does it do that in the code? Where in this code does it do that?
What?
Map these into this.
So you put them in a list. Like, how does it pick which colors to use? Is that what you're asking?
How does it map those together? How does it map that with the colors into a shape that can be presented into the system?
Okay, well, it turns them into a sprite first, right? So then
Take a good look at what you're saying.
It takes the values and then sets a. It takes the values that we use from the make shape function, right? And then it adds them to the pieces list, right? And then it adds them to the pieces list as sprites of those values. So like sprites, like pretty much add those values.
It's going to map the little squares into this form.
Yeah.
And then add each one of them accordingly. And that's pretty much it.
Oh, okay.
It takes and glues those pieces together.
Somehow.
Somehow is that.
Somehow it just glues them together.
Yes, sir.
So I do have a question. How come they use such, if we have a matrix like that, how come they've gone so far over to one side when they could have easily done it like in the middle?
Good question. Right? It's what they felt like doing. Right? Possibly. The other part of it is that there might be, some sort of an overlay in there to cover up everything over here in the structure. We don't know. Right? We don't know yet. But we're trying to understand this. Right? So, we're trying to understand this. I would spend some time study how this works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we just make our whole game out of this?
What do you mean make your whole game?
Can we just like pretty much take this code and just change a couple stuff?
Not really.
No.
Not really.
If we,
Nice idea, but no.
if we really understand it. Just like
Good luck.
change a couple things.
Good luck. There's a
Otherwise-
lot of complexity going on here.
Oh
I would be very skeptical.
god. I would be too, Chip.
But my point is, we're trying to understand this. Imagine yourself, right? You're working at the company that built this code, and the guy says, "Hey, we want to add 2 new game pieces to our game, so we want you to design it. How do you put those game pieces into action?" Right? So, but what this is saying is, you create an instance of game shape. Right? So where's the game shape instance being created? Where's this guy being called? Right? So let's look at the game board. Let's see if we have game piece someplace here. Right? So we have this guy. Board background, PNG, sidebar, PNG, game over. Right, we got a bunch of stuff happening here.
I think I broke it.
Nothing happening per se. We have this cell thing. I have no idea what that's doing. Right, but we're creating this. The board and these 2 buttons. And then, once we create the game board, which is in main, this guy here, the clone of Tetris, right here, create that instance, and then what do we do with that instance? We call who? We call the initialize method, not the constructor. Constructor was the previous line. Now we're calling the board.initialize. And that guy now says what? Board.initialize. Right? So let's take a look at board.initialize.
So it sets the instance value current GP to none. It generates a value for shape ID as a random integer between 1 and 7. And it creates another value called rand rotate, which is random integer 0 to 5. Sets the instance value of next GP to a game shape object.
So what are we doing right there in that line?
We're calling the game shape class and giving it
Creating a new instance of game shape, which is now going to be called next GP or next game piece, right? And we're sending a bunch of stuff to it, namely shape ID, which shape ID is a random value between 1 and 7. Where have you seen shape ID from? Right? That's in the game piece class definition, right? We just built it. So we get a random one of those, random rotation between 0 and 5. We don't know what that means at the moment. And then we do a get shape image shape ID. And that would do what? Go right here. It would get this guy based upon that shape ID. Shape ID, again, as I said earlier, here, it gives us this value, that random ID between 1 and 7. Does that make sense? Yes, I know this is hard stuff, but we're trying to understand the information flow in this code. It's kind of nice. Okay. Questions so far?
So I tried to make a new shape, and then I called it shape 8, and then I tried to increase the shape ID up to 1 through 8, and then it didn't work. So
Okay, so that means you're missing something.
yeah. It's not as modular as I'd like it to be.
Well, it is.
I was like, I got the homework done.
It is, but you got a little to go.
Yeah.
Much more to go, actually. Don't forget this week, folks, what's due part of this week's assignment. Can you guess? Take a guess.
You gotta make a new shape.
That's possible, but more importantly, what's due this week?
That's either another thing for Project 2 or the beginning of Project 3 with the our statements.
Project 2, we already sent in our stuff. You sent in your document. What should you be turning in this week? Skeleton 1, Project 3.
Oh, okay.
Right? Does that not make sense? Or
That's all. That's due on Sunday?
that will be due Sunday. Project 3, Skeleton 1. Next week, over the holiday, Skeleton 2. And the week you get back will be your beta release, Skeleton 3, and it will be due on what, the 6th or something? The Friday before presentations. So you got 3 shots at it. Does that make sense? So my suggestion to you is get absolutely as much coding done this week as you can. Don't forget, next week you have no school, which means, well, unless you have classes on Monday, which means you can work 24/7 on Project 3. In between making the turkey and the mashed potatoes, etc., watching the Lions lose again. Does that make sense to everybody?
So, is all of this information gonna be posted online? Like,
What do you mean?
Is it in like what's it called? Is it like on a calendar?
The deliveries?
Yeah.
I'm going to post up Skeleton 1.
Because I got a
Project 3.
lot of other things, due dates going on right now too.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
I bet you do. But Project 3 Skeleton 1 will kick in this week. Okay? We're going to have so much fun for you, it's not even fun.
It's not even fun.
Not a good what?
You said it's so much fun for you, it's not even fun?
It's not even fun. It's never fun for me. That's why they call it a job.
So I call it a job. Alright. Straight up. We should just we should go. Everybody in this room will start a game company.
It's been done before. You're late.
The whole class.
You're late. You're all late.
What do you mean? No, we're not. We're not late. We're just starting.
Okay. Yeah, but you got to get stuff handled first.
Yeah. Well, Project 3 could be a group project because
No.
there's like 5 of us in here, anyways.
No,
So
9 of you. 9 people signed up to do it. So everybody else is done already. So
Exciting.
what's that?
I said exciting.
Just think, you get to show everybody your first or second cut for Thanksgiving and Project 3. Anyway, continuing on. I'm sorry for the interruption. So the fill piece, right? We get the game piece image. Those images are these guys here. There is something with regard to game piece that we haven't talked about yet. However, we're getting there. Fill pieces with game piece. And then we have our rotate shape functionality that needs to be addressed. We haven't looked at that yet. But I'd like you to take a quick gander at that right now and see if you can understand how they're doing the rotation. So when you move the arrow keys, what is the rotation that happens on that example, right? And a lot of it is based upon this guy here.
So
Oh, okay.
some like stuff that where it rotates it, right?
Yeah, just take these rows and either adds or subtracts a number. So it goes either forward or backwards in the
Well,
column.
yeah, the value gets -1 or it gets -2, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Since
That's
it kind of
it,
goes in
turning
this
this
direction
way.
every time you hit the down arrow, it just goes and adds one to the thing to shift it over one.
And then rotation 2 is, I think it's turning this way, counterclockwise.
Which is the only way you can rotate is by hitting up anyway, so it's just going to go in the same direction every time.
It does.
Keep going. Keep going. You're on the roll.
It only rotates. Oh no. Yeah. It's not that it only rotates. Yeah. It only really rotates 2 ways.
Yeah, well, because it's
It only
the
has
same
a-
piece. So the way I think of it is it keeps going in the same direction.
It really doesn't though. It just kind of looks like it does.
Yeah, I know.
It just has 2 different. It's not really rotating. It's just kind of like the values are being flipped between those 2 options depending on what button. Like how many times you clicked it.
We'll try, wait till you get to a T piece again, and then try doing the rotate.
I think that one will probably have 3.
Yeah.
But it's not like a real rotation like how you
Yeah.
rotate it like Canon or whatever. That's a lot. Yeah, that's
See?
and I bet this one has 3 conditions.
What piece is pink?
Oh, what's this one? I think it must be number 3. Shape 3.
That's it. I'll pull up which thing, see what pops up. Pink, yep. You are correct. Oh yeah, because they only had 2 rotations for every other piece.
Oh, I see. Hold on. So we set the columns. Like we're not even using like X and Y coordinates on the. We create the matrix of the board, and I think it's the base class. The board base class. Game board base class. Okay. And then we're using that to where we're using those values of like that matrix as where we're putting our sprites, where we're creating our.
Depends. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you can't do that with everything. You can't create like a huge, super complicated matrix, can you? And then,
You can, but that be nice.
well, that's pretty much what the like when you're creating a surface in Pygame does, anyways, right?
In a neighborhood.
That's interesting.
Yep.
For the one piece, they just eliminated 2 of the rotational things because it'd be the same shape anyways. So
That's
they
what,
just
that's
used
what I was
2.
saying. They only have 2 conditions because it's not really rotating. It's
Yeah,
just-
well, because it doesn't have to be the same way anyway.
What are we doing for the rest of the class?
Oh, we got another one to go.
Oh, okay.
There's more to go. Trust me. There's no such thing as a break here. I'll be right back. We're gonna just want to give everybody ample time to discuss this. So your first part of your assignment for the week is posted. We are there. So, who wants to explain how this is working? So we've gotten to the board, we've built our buttons, we've called initialize, and then what? What happens here? Sorry. Gotta undo this guy. So what happens? What do we have? Who wants to explain it? Bless you. What's going on? Come on, folks. How's this working? How's it all get together here now? A little help, somebody, anybody. Explain it to me.
Okay, so first, in the clone of Tetris file, that's when we first call the board initialized.
Okay, so initialize, we're there.
The initialize method of the board base class.
Okay.
The game board base class. So then that takes, when that's called, the shape ID gets set to random integers, like we said. We set all of our attributes, and then it creates the game shape instance using those random attributes. Okay. It appends. So when that's created, when you create game shape, you gotta go to the game shape base class is then gonna take, it then creates an empty list called pieces. Alright. Sets the game board equal to whatever game board you had it set to. And then shape rotation is initialized, it's set to 1. It uses the fill piece, the fill pieces method that
Where are you at
defined
with that?
there.
Where'd you see that?
I'm in game shape.
Oh, you're in game shape.
I'm in game shape. Yeah.
Okay, so you jumped over to game shape.
Right. 'Cause that's what we're calling right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I'm gonna explain this a lot. Okay, so it calls the. Let's see. So game shape is the base class, right? We call it right there. We give it those random. Integers. Okay, so it's completely randomized. When it makes the shape, if the random integer is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, it then adds to that pieces list. It adds certain values, and that's kind of like the matrix we went over earlier.
This guy here.
Yeah, and then we
Okay.
fill the pieces. We add them. We take the images from the directory, from the main
Okay.
directory, file directory, and we add them. We create a sprite out of them, and then we add them to a list.
Okay.
And then you want to know how like the rotate and everything works.
Keep going.
Okay.
So if the shape is 1,
Yeah.
then what?
So if the shape is 1, then you have the add 0 in the list for the first part of the array, 0. It's row 0, column 7,
Okay.
row 1, column 7.
Right. We did that.
Right.
What about this guy here? What's going on here on the rotate?
Oh, okay. Oh, if the shape is 1, then it calls the rotate shape 1.
And where's that guy?
That's down
A little
here.
bit further down.
Rotate shape 1. Aha. Now what's that going to do? How does that work?
So it sets the function it sets the method attributes, POR, P1. So those are basically all the rows and columns of each value in the array, 0 through 3. And then 0, 1, and 3, I guess. So it adds, if the shape value is 1, gets set to 1, then row 0 gets added 1 to the right. 0 value in the array. The row value for that gets added 1. The column value gets added 1. So that's it, kind of turning clockwise, if you think about it, because then the two lower values are then moving over to the left. It's kind of just being flipped. It's changing. It's not really rotating. It's just kind of like flipping. It's changing the values and making it appear like it's rotating.
So we're incrementing by 1.
Yeah, or 2
Okay.
for the bottom one.
All right. So then what happens?
Okay.
Somebody else.
Then it has a second position where it will subtract the changes it made and put it back to the original position if you were to keep hitting it. So it would the +1 in the row and column would become -1 in the columns, putting it back to two different sides or ways you can display it for this shape, as they do the same thing with the second one. Although the shape number 3 through 7 are different, well, they actually have 4 different positions they could be in, because depending on it, the first 2 would be the same whether you had 4 or 2,
Right.
which doesn't matter. So that why put in the code for it.
So there's a condition. I want to know what's that. This is weird. What is board column?
Gameboard.cops. What's gameboard.cops? Where's Gameboard? Where are we getting that?
That's a game board.
Gameboard. Where's the Gameboard coming in?
But why is it -1?
Let's look at the. We have any Gameboard stuff here. It's coming in on the creation. Right? Gameboard. So where's that game shape being called? In the initialize.
Well, yeah, but if you go back to the game board base class, it's set to 14. So it's going to be set to 14 there as well. Right.
It's going to bring those values over.
So, but I just don't know why it minuses 1. So, like, if it's less than 0, if the game piece is at a column,
It's rotating them.
Oh, that's what's rotating.
Well, that's what's moving the pieces, right? It's moving the pieces around,
Okay.
and it's putting limits on it. Remember, you asked me why is this all the way over here? Because it's moving it this way.
Okay.
Again, if you really want to sit down and in detail understand what's happening, right? We're playing the role right now of the guy that got the job that says you need to add a piece to this game. So in order to do that, you need to understand how this code is executing. What is it doing? Right? Does that make sense to everybody? So we're literally walking through this code trying to understand how it's implemented. It's actually a very nice implementation with regard to this piece of it. This is very cool, the way they got this set up. Right? It's a pseudo one-dimensional structure, but it's really a 2D, right, with rows and columns added to it. So, continuing on. Right. We're not exactly correct on some of the things that we're talking about here, but we're making progress. Okay. We are making progress. I bet you didn't know you could toggle the grid on and off in this game.
I don't know what that means.
Well, let's run the code and find out. Right, we can do this, but we want to be able to pause the game. What did we just do?
We toggle the grid on and off.
Nice new game piece. I can create a new game piece constantly here with the use of the button. now going to be turned off. Let's take a look at the toggle though. Where is that toggle? What's display.flip, by the way?
Isn't that basically the same thing as we had for the update? But basically, it's unloading the buffer onto
Onto the window.
yeah.
Where's our key though? How do we toggle the grid, for example?
Oh, that's a high button.
So pi button,
You.
toggle grid, right here, show grid. Toggle the grid on off. How do you-
Game board.
The game board,
Pause button.
pause button. No, I want to toggle the grid. There's a grid that you can turn on. Here.
Oh, probably in the toggle grid.
Where's the toggle? Yeah, but how do you get there?
Like, oh, that's in game board. Right there.
How do you turn it on?
So the show.
It says toggle grid.
You gotta find where a show grid attribute gets manipulated.
Very good. So where's show grid? Ah. Ready? See the grid in there now? I'm going to pause it here for a second.
So does the where does the matrix start? Like for each. See this matrix you're talking about?
I think it starts at the center.
Well, no, it starts in the top left corner of the rectangle thing, right?
You mean in here?
Yeah. Like, how does I just don't understand how the matrix works with the sprites itself. Like,
It
how
puts
it
them
makes-
into a structure and then
Right.
puts the structure into the list.
right, so it's in the list, and
Then the list.
do these lists have X and Y values like on the
Yes.
where? Like,
When you add them to the list. Right.
oh no.
Here's get tick slow. KGKS toggle the grid by
I can't see.
KG. Huh?
The screen went blank.
Sorry. I wanted to turn the music off, which I should be able to do. Update podgame.time. Get ticks, fill boards, drop board. So let's go to the game piece. Board.initialize again. Here's the cell. We load this with the image right here. Cell.
Okay.
And the mapping for the cell is what we have it back behind me here.
So, okay. And then I think the border, so border top X and border top Y self-cells 00 dot rect top left. So the top left is 00 on this grid itself. The top left is 00. So, okay. Then
We'll do some more investigating on this. I would spend some time looking at this a little more in depth. I would begin working on your Project 3 skeleton. I would have something crudely built by the end of the week, folks, for Project 3. Right? Questions, thoughts, comments?
I got it.
Got some things to do. I just want to remind everybody, it's week 14. Right? Week 14, please look at your grades. If you haven't done so, where do you stand in the class? So that there's no surprises at the end of the semester, which we're very close to now. Okay? If you haven't done so lately, please do that for better understanding of what's going on here. All right? If you have questions, stick around. If you don't, we'll see you on Thursday for one last round of this. And I'm going to introduce one last game for you to mess around with and study. It's a space shooter game over the break and into the following week. Okay? Questions? Everybody good? We have a nice assignment to work on.
You want us to add a game piece still to this?
Yes.
Okay.
If you have time, that will be your additional homework for this week.
Yeah,
It'll
that-
probably be the last homework for the semester, actually.
Sweet.
So,
And then Project 3.
yep. You have plenty to do. No lack of opportunity.
Good luck with today's lesson.